I thought I was free of Dr. Fred and those crazy Edisons forever. But now I know that I must go back to the mansion.
Hi everybody. It's
Hi.
Phoenix Wright's fan club show.
I wish that's what this was. I could spend hours talking about Phoenix Wright, but instead you made me watch this garbage.
I've tricked Mel into participating in Super Breakfast Friends Club once again.
I don't know why I keep falling for it. You tell me the same thing every week.
Let's play a theme song, shall we? That was fast, wasn't it? That was a quick intro.
Yeah, usually we spend about 10 minutes waffling before we remember that we have to. I just want to get this over with. This one hurt my soul.
This one, we should probably be dragging it out more because this is going to be a short episode.
I want to speed run this episode so I don't have to think about it ever again.
Okay, well, yeah, the theme song, you know, it sure is weird.
It's insanely weird. I don't understand why they chose that genre. I'm sure we talked about this last time, and still I am baffled.
I don't understand why they chose that genre should be the tagline of this show.
Yeah. Like, I hate to say it, but I almost miss the 10-year anniversary vibe that we got before.
It was more interesting than this one, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So I felt, for everybody out there who doesn't understand our motivations here looking at this, I thought, since the first episode was presented as a fake 10-year anniversary episode, I thought we should take a look at what the show is normally like, since that was clearly like a one-off gimmick episode. And normally it's like this.
And normally it's bad.
It has to get better though, right?
What do you mean? It got canceled.
After
But it
3
was, like,
seasons?
It's true. Wasn't it, like, weirdly beloved?
Yeah. It did really well in Canada. It has to. They're not going to put it on for 3 seasons if it's performing badly, are they?
Listen, I've seen some garbage that's been around much longer than it needed to be.
That's true. I guess reality TV is is around still to this day.
Don't drag all reality TV down.
Listen, I'm not talking about the stuff you like.
Specifically, the things you like are good, and everything else is bad.
Did I tell you about the Love Island thing that's happening right now?
You did, and I just remembered that earlier today.
Yeah, Love Island. Someone on Love Island is a misogynistic pedophile. And his family tried to excuse it by saying he has ADHD. So now ADHD's getting dragged through the mud in the UK internet.
Because apparently it's interchangeable with being a sociopath.
Yeah.
It's one of the dark triad traits, ADHD.
Yeah. This theme song, it doesn't even rhyme. Did you notice that?
I tried not to.
Drives me crazy.
I was trying to pay more attention to the background because that's pretty much the only time we ever get any exposition about how we get to where we are.
That's true. Not that there's much.
No, there's very little.
Was there anything you took in? Because I just blanked it entirely.
Nothing really worth mentioning. I didn't write anything down.
I know we talked about it a bit last time.
Yeah.
Well, this episode is called Flystruck, aka The Trouble with Harry. It's written by Eugene Levy and John Hemphill. John Hemphill being the guy who plays Harry.
So the direction I want to take my character in is I want to be cheating on my wife with a fly.
Oh, also the fact that it's like worded as The Trouble with Harry, as though it's like, can't be helped, you know.
Right. That's what this whole episode is like. It's like,
I guess
can't be helped.
That's really Fred's attitude to the entire plot of this episode, isn't it? He does not want to be involved in any of this.
He's barely in it. He's downstairs with a giant chicken.
That's true. He's our main character and he's not present.
That's how I want to live my life.
So this aired September 21st, 1990. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the opening of it.
That's pretty much all it was.
Yeah. I mean, anything else that I would have to say, I'd just be recovering ground that we covered last time we looked at this show.
Mm-hmm.
So we open in the kitchen of the Maniac Mansion. By the way, for a show called Maniac Mansion, there's like no attention drawn to the house.
And there's not really any maniacs in it.
There's one.
Yeah, but she is my favorite character.
She's not the one I was talking about, but you're right. It's weird. I think if I was writing a show and the one mandate I had was that it be called Maniac Mansion, I would want it to have some kind of like, the mansion is the secret fifth character, you know?
Right. Like a smart house situation.
Yeah. Like how Gotham City is a character in Batman. I've heard writers who write for Batman talk about that before. How you have to like think of the city as an extra character.
As a bumbling sidekick. Sorry, Batman, I'm full of crime again today.
Oh no, I tripped and fell into a riot.
Oh, I ate the Joker for breakfast.
Now I've got laughing gas.
Please don't stand too close to me. I'm covered in fear gas again. Yeah, but I know you mentioned it in the last episode, but the house is completely different.
It is. The first episode was filmed on a soundstage. What I wonder is if that first episode we saw was the pilot that they used to sell the show to the network, so they couldn't afford like to rent a house to film in. Because that's clearly what they've done here. They rented a house and filmed in it.
Yeah.
Are there any? I don't think there are any outer shots, are there? The whole thing is just filmed within the house.
There are a couple establishing shots.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no scene that takes place outside.
Oh, no, it's entirely inside.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The episode, and I think because of that, this episode feels incredibly cramped to me.
Yeah, because it's just a busy, cluttered house.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room, so the camera's always pretty close to the actors.
It feels a little bit too lived in.
I wonder if it was just someone's house that they lived in.
Eugene Levy lives there.
Because I like it when people film in real houses. Malcolm in the Middle's filmed in a real house that they rented in a suburb. Apparently, the people who lived in the neighborhood hated it.
I can't imagine why.
And then you've got stuff like Scrubs, where they actually bought an old disused hospital and filmed in it. And I love that stuff, but it's not working for this show.
No. I miss the crazy science house.
Yeah, the house from the pilot was so much more interesting. Even though it was clearly a stage and there was like a whole wall missing.
That's fine.
It was more open. We had that really cool shot in the first episode where the daughter appears on the balcony to come down the stairs and it lights up with a
Yeah, I liked
spotlight.
that.
It was nice.
It's stylistic.
Exactly, because I'm not going to say I liked the first episode,
No.
but I liked it in comparison to this episode.
Yes. It
Anyway,
was just better to look at.
yeah, just more interesting all around outside of the writing.
Outside of the fact that nothing happened and we spent entirely too long listening to impressions.
Like, is Eugene Levy not funny? Is that what I'm learning here? I thought Eugene Levy was a funny man.
Maybe not. Maybe it's the people that he works with.
Maybe it's his son that's funny and Schitt's
Right.
Creek.
Schitt's Creek is so good because his son is the brain behind it.
Because I want to say there are like 2 parts of this episode that I got a smile out of. But I don't know that I ever got a laugh. Anyway, we should probably be talking about this kind of stuff at the end.
Why? Just because we're going to turn everybody off before they even listen?
Yeah, you don't need to listen to this episode. We'll see you next week. Maybe.
Give them the Patreon, give them the coffee, send them on their way.
What if we did? What if we just ended it now? We put up a 10-minute episode.
And then the rest of the episode is a Patreon exclusive, where we actually talk about the show.
No, let's do it. Okay, so Fred and Harry are in the kitchen. And I guess Fred's not really participating in the conversation, is he? He's just...
No, he's just getting talked at.
Yeah, he's just having his breakfast. While Harry... Yeah, he's trying to have his breakfast while Harry... I think Harry's sitting on his spoon at first that he wants to stir his coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells him to get off it. But Harry just wants to talk about some fly girl that he's super horny for.
Literally, a fly girl.
Yeah, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that she's cool. Oh, I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you probably listened to our first episode about the show. But just to re-clarify, Harry is a human head on a fly's body.
So it's not as weird as you think, but it's still really weird.
Yeah, and that's why he's sitting on a spoon. Just to clarify that, you know.
Yeah, I guess the visual, if you weren't aware of that, is a bit different.
And Dr. Fred, who is the one character shared between the game and the show, although he looks entirely different than he does in the game, he's here listening. It's a really weird conversation because right off the bat, he brings up the age difference between them. And that's part of the joke because she's a fly, so she's like a few days old probably. But it's still really weird to hear this like middle-aged man talking about trying to justify an age difference between him and the girl he's chasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she strikes me like one of those street smart kids, been on her own for a while. Yeah. I think she sees me like a father figure, I mean, it's gotta be it. I'm 1,000 times her age.
And yeah, so Harry asks Fred whether he thinks it's okay that he's chasing this younger woman while he's married. And Fred just kind of gives an extremely non-committal answer.
Is it wrong what I'm feeling?
What, the age difference?
Because I'm a married man and a fly's got the hots for me.
Well, from a scientific standpoint, I don't know what to tell you. But from a human male standpoint, I don't know what to tell you.
That's him this entire episode. Just non-committal, not present.
Yeah, he does not want to be involved in this. He's got an experiment to do. I'm not certain that we ever really find out what the experiment is.
We We don't learn the specifics of it, but we know he's trying to return Harry to his human body.
Yeah, and for some reason that involves enlarging a chicken.
Yeah, we don't find out much about that.
Yeah. When it cuts, so Harry and Fred are done with their conversation, and the action moves down to the basement where Fred is now talking directly to the camera. And there's this whole calendar bit, which I think was a joke that I didn't get.
Was it a joke?
I don't know what it was. I was going to ask if you understood.
I didn't read it as a joke. It's just apparently the chicken had turned the pages of his calendar and he didn't realize that it wasn't that date until he realized he listed the wrong experiment number associated with that date.
Friday, September 8th. Experiment 10478. What? Can't be 1478. October the 3rd. The chicken flipped my calendar pages back.
That was it. That was it. It was the chicken's fault, and then he got it right, and that was the end.
But he had the date and the experiment number wrong. So I don't know.
Maybe he associates certain dates with specific numbers. It's like a star date, you know?
Maybe. It had the cadence of a joke without there being any actual joke there, which is why I was confused.
Say that's this entire show in a nutshell.
I feel like this show would have benefited from a laugh track. Not because it would have made it funnier, but because it would have made it clear which parts the writers thought were funny.
I think it would have made the show feel a bit more alive because the sets are like dim and close together and it just kind of feels weird. It feels empty and lonely.
It really does, yeah. Casey comes and interrupts his experiment. Casey's his wife. She tells him breakfast is ready, but he says he doesn't have time to eat because he's working on fixing the machine that turned Harry into a flyman so that he can turn him back to normal. No mention of Turner here. Their son, who also got weirdly...
That's a later problem.
he got weirdly transmogrified in the same accident. I don't know why they're prioritizing Harry over their son here.
Well, because Harry's life has been upside down ever since.
That's
Unlike
true.
Turner, who's perfectly fine.
Yes. Up in the kitchen, Turner, the strange baby man, who still feels offensive somehow.
It didn't feel as offensive this time.
But
I can't
is that just
explain
because
why.
we're desensitized to it?
I don't think so. Maybe it has something to do with knowing what the problem was ahead of time, but
That's
I think
true. When we were first introduced to him, we didn't know what the deal was.
yeah. But like I think they did as good a job as you can at making him feel like a child, but just played by an older man.
I guess he does that better here than he did in the first one. But we also see a lot less of him here than we did in the first one, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
He's in this one scene and then he goes away for the rest of the episode. That's true of all three children, actually.
Good. They were annoying. Turner's the best of the three, and he's 4 years old in a giant man body.
To remind everyone, the children's names are Tina, Turner, and Ike.
I hate it. I had completely forgotten, and so I'm picking up their names little by little as they're reintroduced through the episode, and I was like, oh my god. It's just as bad as last time.
Turner is chasing Ike around the kitchen, being annoying.
Ike? 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 Ike?
What?
Could you wrestle with me?
No.
He wants to wrestle.
He wants to wrestle. Ike says no because he's too big since the accident.
I was gonna say Ike says no because he's too cool, because he rolls out of bed and he's already in like a leather jacket and a pork pie hat.
Yeah. I thought the leather jacket was a gimmick for the 10th anniversary episode, but
He's always that cool, baby.
yeah, that must just be his thing.
I don't care for it. He's too young for that to feel like a not forced aesthetic.
Oh, I'm sure it's supposed to be a forced aesthetic.
But it's awful.
His family are clearly all over it already.
Yeah, his sister won't shut up about how much she hates his dumb hat.
Right, so the hat thing, right?
Oh my god, I hated it.
They spend so much of this scene. They spend like a full 2 minutes of this scene talking about how he shouldn't be wearing his hat at breakfast. And I was convinced it was leading up to some reveal, like he'd done something crazy with his hair.
Yes. Or he had a bald spot.
Yep. But then he takes his hat off, and that's just the end of it, and his hair's normal. What a waste of time.
No! It was the worst.
Casey was saying that maybe they'll be able to turn Turner back if they could fix Harry. And I feel like this is already kind of more development than they got in the pilot about that, which is weird because the pilot showed us the accident where they got transformed.
Yes.
But it didn't give us any indication that Fred was working to fix it.
Right.
In fact, it kind of just implied that it had been 10 years and nobody cared.
This is just how they live now.
Oh no, I guess they do say that Turner hadn't even been born yet at the start of the 10 years, so I guess it had to have been. I don't know, it must have happened in like season 7 or something.
By whatever weird metric is happening.
By the lore of the 10-year anniversary special. Yeah.
I like that it's implied Turner does not want to be made into a small child again.
Yeah, I also like that it's implied that he's got super strength.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what I was a little bit confused by his line because he asks,
Will I still be able to make little balls out of bean cans?
And I was like, huh?
Yeah, like crushing an entire can in his hands.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it was. I was more confused by Ike's reaction to it because he reacted as though Turner had just asked a sex question or something.
Mom, you want to field that one?
Right, something really uncomfortable, but it's just, no, you'll be a little kid again. You won't be that strong.
Yeah. Because Ike tries to pass the question off to his mom because he doesn't want to answer it. For some reason.
Right. It's like, well, we know that you don't want to go back to being a child, but now we have to keep up appearances.
Yeah. And then Tina comes down and joins them for breakfast. I don't think she really adds much.
No, she doesn't.
I don't remember.
All she does is whine about that hat.
That's true. And Adela comes down as well. Adela being Harry's wife. And she's just kind of being a standoffish Irish prude, which seems to be her entire character, really.
Good morning, Adela. If you say so.
Yeah.
It's so different from the pilot. Like, the cinematography is completely different. The writing is different. It's way, way, way slower paced. Like, the pilot, although it wasn't particularly funny, it was very snappy. There were a lot of jokes coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And in comparison, this episode is glacial.
Yeah. Like, a lot of the jokes in the pilot were meta, and most of them didn't land, but, like, they were there.
Yeah. I feel like there were a few that I chuckled at least.
There were a few genuine chuckles. I do remember that.
It's been a while, but I have some fond memories of it, even if I thought it was a strange first episode.
Yeah, my problem was that they made meta jokes way too often, and so ones that should have been really funny were kind of dulled because we've been desensitized to it already.
That's true, yeah. The show basically opened with him looking at the camera and winking at us, so... when every line after that was more... But then there's none of it here. They don't break the fourth wall once in this episode, I don't think.
No.
And that felt weird.
This whole thing felt weird because it was mostly Idela's fantasies.
Yeah. I wonder if this is them trying to justify her. Because in the pilot, I definitely thought, probably at least 5 times, I thought, why is this woman here? She feels completely superfluous to the entire show. And now this episode's basically about her.
Yeah.
But it is very weird. She doesn't feel like she belongs here. It feels like a Simpsons episode that focuses on like Skinner's mom or something. You know?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't feel like a member of the family. She's apparently been with Harry for 20 years, and they live in the house here with the family. But she doesn't feel like part of the family.
No. And they don't feel like a couple. Not just because he's a fly, but there's no... They, like, never even interact.
Not really.
Like, we hear stories about interacting, but we only see them speak to one another at the very end of the episode.
They interacted once in Nam.
Excuse me, he was on his way to Nam. He was taking the train there.
I forgot he was taking the train. That scene did make me laugh. But we'll get to that. Oh yeah, so Adela's clearly upset about something, but she's not. I think they kind of pull it out of her and she says...
If no one else thinks it's important enough, I'm certainly not going to talk about it.
Talk about what?
About the fact that there's another fly in the house.
And everybody laughs. They think what she said is the funniest thing ever.
It's pretty funny. Like, sans context, it's pretty funny.
I mean... No. I'm trying to put myself in those shoes, but like, if Kevin came up to me and said that there was another fly in the house, I'd be like, all right. And that would be the exact silence that would follow. It's not a funny sentence.
No. It's, what's funny to me is her... Like, yeah, if Kevin came up to you and said that, sure. But what if Kevin came up to you, like, on the verge of tears and said that?
Well, then I would think that there was something else going on. And I probably wouldn't laugh unless I was very uncomfortable, in which case I would not stop laughing.
I might laugh. But I guess I'm just less sensitive than you are.
Which is wild, you monster.
I mean, if they're really upset, then I'd probably be like, I'm sorry. It was just funny the way you said that.
I mean, I have done that. I've done that a few times.
Well, there you go, then.
That's what I mean. If I was very uncomfortable, I might just start laughing because I don't know how else to respond as a human.
So, Adela's upset about this fly thing. Casey makes some excuses for her brother. This is where we learn that he's her brother, actually.
Yeah.
That wasn't mentioned in the pilot. I think I had surmised it in the last episode. But we didn't know for sure.
I don't think I put 2 and 2 together because I was too busy recovering from what I was watching as I was watching it.
I had guessed that he was somebody's brother.
Because they called him Uncle Harry?
Because they were Uncle Harry and Aunt Adela, and I was like, I don't think she's blood related. Not just because she's Irish, but also because she's weird. She feels like she's out of another era.
I like that she feels out of place because she's weird in a show called Maniac Mansion.
I know, she's the wrong kind of maniac, though. This should have been... I mentioned in the first episode about how the original idea for this show was that it would be like a Monsters Atom Family-esque situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Eugene Levy decided to take a show called Maniac Mansion and go in this route with it is so weird to me.
It's like, Eugene, who are the craziest people you know, and why are they really boring?
Why is it called that anymore? Why is the theme song a weird country ballad where a lady wistfully sings the words Maniac Mansion over and over again?
It's like he wanted to do something kind of out there, but he was ahead of his time as far as strange, irreverent comedies, so he just was like, this is as close as it
I
gets.
don't know if this is ahead of its time.
Not at all, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Anybody listening who's from Canada, is this Canada funny?
Are we just not getting it?
Maybe.
Is it like Flight of the Conchords, but not funny?
I was going to say Flight of the Conchords is hilarious.
But it's a very specific kind of humor.
It is. But it's a humor that I feel is universal. And this is a kind of humor that I feel like Eugene Levy gets.
Eugene Levy gets and his son interprets for the rest of us.
Because I love to laugh at... Like, awkward comedy is a staple of UK humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's why we have, like, Stephen Merchant and stuff. Stephen Merchant, who played Wheatley in Portal 2, for anybody who doesn't know the name. This isn't that. And I can't figure out what this is.
No!
So Adela storms off, unsatisfied with Casey's excuses. And Casey chases her and says,
Idella, Harry is not going to get emotionally involved with another fly.
which I thought was an interesting qualifier. He's not going to get emotionally involved with another fly. Don't worry.
Don't worry, it's not real cheating. There's a whole thing I was so confused by.
What's that?
You know, they were kind of all dancing around the fact that it is infidelity.
Oh, yeah.
But because they never really say the words, because they never really say that Harry went to Pound Town on that fly's sweet, sweet puss.
Do flies even have genitals, though?
I don't think so.
I don't know
I
how...
don't understand bugs.
Let's do a little research, shall we?
Oh, boy.
Google. How do flies fuck? First article that came up is called These Flies Are Getting More Action Than You. You can make flies fuck off. Nope, that's not. Do insects have gay sex? Oh, interesting question. I'm sure they do. Most animals do. It's been found across the animal kingdom. Alright, it looks like they do go for it the same kind of way that humans do.
Okay.
Anyway.
So it's infidelity.
Yes. Did you see why I named my notes?
I did, and I hated it.
My notes are called Infidelity.
That's why the word is so stuck in my head right now, because you made me witness that.
Hey, we all witnessed that. Idella tells Casey a story about how she got up in the middle of the night and caught them buzzing around in a lampshade together.
I'm in bed, and I start dozing. And I'm just on the cusp of a good REM sleep when I hear this noise, and it's getting louder. So I reach over to the light, and there they are, buzzing around inside the lampshade. They had guilt written all over their faces.
And then the girl fly flew away and Harry chased her.
I like that she described them as having guilt written all over their faces for flying around this light bulb.
Yeah. I want to see what a guilty fly looks like.
Probably a normal fly.
People tell you that dogs can't feel guilt, and those people have never seen a guilty dog, because let me tell you,
They sure do.
you can tell when a dog's feeling guilty.
I've watched the YouTube videos.
I've seen it in person.
I probably have too, but recently I watched one of the most guilty dogs I've ever seen in my life.
When you come home, you don't even know what they've done, but you know they've done something. Yeah, I've witnessed that too many times. Dogs feel guilt, and if you think they don't, then you're the one with the problem. Anyway, what happens next?
Nothing.
Well,
For the rest of the episode, nothing happens.
pretty much. The kids don't appear again after this point.
Mm-mm.
That's it for them. They had breakfast, they went to school, and that was the end.
Thank goodness.
They aren't even woken up by the commotion later. By the troubles.
Yeah, that's true. That should have been a whole family affair. That would have been fun.
Yeah, it would. Affair. Good choice of words.
Because Harry's a dog.
Oh, Casey tells Adela to go watch TV, and she turns on a soap opera, which is funny because I had been thinking for the whole episode up to this point that it's filmed like a soap opera, and then they literally filmed a soap opera.
Yeah, and then we just start watching a different show for a while.
Yeah, which also, although within this show we did get the one line that got a real laugh out of me.
Which was?
Which was,
I thought you were clever enough to read between the lines.
Read between the lines? There aren't any words between the lines.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I didn't.
Okay, well.
Agree to disagree.
Fair enough. You know, maybe I just felt like it was funny in comparison to everything else we were seeing.
That's a good point, yeah.
But yeah, in the soap opera, this weirdly prescient soap opera, a woman is getting ditched for another woman by her husband and his extremely callous mother.
Yeah, what was her deal?
I think she was just like soap opera character, you know?
Yeah.
There's always this woman in a soap opera.
Good point.
The older woman who kind of controls everything and is a bitch.
Yeah. She speaks her mind because she just makes reality happen.
Yeah. Then, so the woman in the show sits down on a couch to cry and becomes Idella.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to go back and check that it hadn't been her all along, and it hadn't.
No.
I was like, has it been the whole actor this whole time? But no, they replace her suddenly. And she starts yelling at the man and calling him Harry, which the man in the soap opera reacts to with confusion.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting rid of me that easy, Harry.
Harry? My name is Kyle.
Kyle, Harry, what's the difference?
But then she just describes a detailed plan for killing a fly.
Yeah.
Which I'll put here, because I don't remember what she said.
I'll track her down. I'll find her. And I'll roll up a newspaper. And I'll hit her. And I'll hit her again, just in case I missed her the first time. Then I'll get a broom, sweep her into the dustpan, and toss her into a garbage can.
And the guy's like,
There's a word for this, Kelly.
Yeah, and then Idella, outside of the TV now, says,
I know. Murder.
I think that was probably the one part that I liked, because we are still talking about a fly.
yes. Yeah, you have to keep reminding yourself that it's a fly we're talking about here. And now there's an ad break. And, you know, nothing's really happened yet. But we've managed to squeeze 45 minutes of a recording out of it so far, which I'm surprised about.
I would argue about 30 of those minutes have nothing to do with this show.
I think you're probably right. So Casey comes down to the basement and finds Fred fighting with a giant chicken.
the big floppy foot of a giant chicken anyway.
The big floppy Muppet foot, yeah.
Yeah. Like, where are they? Are they just in a well within the basement?
So I didn't take it in this time, but I remember last time that he had a drained pool that he had a bunch of equipment sitting down in. So I'm assuming they're in that pool.
I guess I just didn't think it would be similar to the original show in any way, since the set's completely different.
That's the one set where... Because the first episode was Fred's dream, right?
Yeah.
There's only...
Oh, that's right.
The only scenes that take place in reality take place in this basement, where he's sitting in the pool, in this drained pool, asleep.
You are correct.
So I think that was the one scene that was shot after they had made a set. Like, I keep saying that I think that first episode was the pilot that they used to sell the show. I wonder if the one change that they made when they turned this into an actual episode of the show was just to add that beginning and end to show that it was a dream.
People didn't understand it otherwise.
Well, it probably wasn't.
I didn't understand it even with it.
It probably wasn't intended to be a dream originally, but then they were like, well, now this is nothing like the show, so we need to explain why if we want to use this as an extra episode. Because that happens all the time. There's loads of... Like, the first episode of Scrubs takes place in a different hospital than the rest of the show. It's not, story-wise, it's not supposed to be a different hospital, but it's very clearly a different hospital when you look at it, and it's because that's the pilot they filmed. I think they filmed that pilot in a real working hospital. And then...
Just around the dying patient.
I think so, yeah. And then once they showed that pilot around, they got the money, and then they used that money to buy the actual hospital that the rest of the show was filmed in.
Mm.
But it's weird to go back and look at the first episode now, because watching the show for, what it go on for, like 7 years?
Something like that.
You get very used to Sacred Heart Hospital and how it looks,
Mm-hmm.
You recognize the rooms, you know where the characters are standing. There's the nurses' station, there's the ICU, there's the reception area, whatever. And then going back to the first episode, and it's a completely different place. It's really weird.
I feel like I've been lied to all these years.
Like, no recognizable areas at all. I think even the outside of the hospital is completely different in that first episode.
Well, now I can never watch the first episode again.
Yeah, you can.
No, I'll know too much.
You would have noticed anyway. It's
only if I watch the first episode again.
Ever, yeah. Oh, so Fred comes upstairs, right?
Yes.
His clothes are completely in tatters now. And he has a lot of puns for us.
He sure does, and none of them are good.
None of them land, no.
Boy, that is one big chicken. We'll whip up a broth for that thing and we could have Ethiopia back on its feet in a week.
Rough day?
Rough. Boy, you put a couple of onions in that beak and you got coq au vin nice.
You finished?
Don't stop me now. I'm on a chicken roll.
Casey talks about the whole Idella problem and says that she basically tells Fred that Idella's just being silly and obviously nothing's going on. And then Fred, through his silence, I think, confirms that something actually is going on.
Yeah. And it dawns on Casey.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right? Right? He's seeing another fly.
So Casey worries what Idella will do, and Fred says,
Idella's not the type to go off the deep end.
And then it cuts to her going off the deep end.
Yep, immediate cut to her. I actually liked this shot. This is the one shot where I was like, that's interesting. Where it's shot from above and she's just pacing up and down in a study or something?
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like a... Was it like a fisheye lens, maybe? Like a slight... I can't remember. Something was off about it. It was like the one shot in this episode that felt Maniac-ish.
Yeah, because she's losing her dang mind.
Yeah. 2 a.m. hits, and she goes downstairs with camouflage makeup on her face. But
Well, you know it's trying to be camouflage, but it's just a bunch of black spots. It's like a charcoal mask that she has applied poorly.
yeah, but she's got bright pink pajamas on with it, so
I loved it.
it was pretty funny. I liked that. Just the
pink
idea.
sweat.
Just the idea of applying camouflage makeup to your face and not thinking about what clothes you're wearing is really funny to me. She crawls along the ground under the table and then reaches up from underneath and slides a newspaper down and rolls it up. That's pretty good.
And then we get like a killer shot of her reaching into a drawer and grabbing bug spray.
Yeah. And then she just kind of like sneaks around the house waiting to hear the fly. And then she attacks it, knocking a bunch of stuff off a table. And one of those things is a photo of Harry in a military uniform. And
I couldn't even tell that was Harry.
No, me neither, but we know from afterwards that that's what it is. And she picks it up, and that's like the end of probably the best scene in the episode. The scene of her doing like military ops in the living room, that's like the most Maniac that this show gets.
From what we've seen, anyway.
Well, yeah, I should say this episode. We don't know what else happens.
Yeah, everything else has been pretty tame and boring.
The first episode was more Maniac than this. I just wish it hadn't been such a meta gimmick episode.
Yeah. But also the first episode was really boring, too.
In comparison to this one, though, I'd rather watch the first episode again.
You're right, yeah.
Anyway, she picks up this photo of Harry in his military uniform, and a flashback starts. And I did think this flashback was kind of funny. It has a lot of jokes that don't land, but just the idea of it is pretty funny to me.
Elaborate.
Harry's shipping off to Vietnam. Apparently he was in Nam. But the way they're dressed, it's all black and white, and the way they're dressed and the way they're talking is very 1930s. So
yeah, I didn't take it as a flashback. I thought it was just her projecting herself into...
So this is what I think. I think this is that she's romanticized it as like a World War II thing rather than a Vietnam thing.
Yeah.
Because World War II to that generation is a lot more glamorous than Vietnam was.
Yeah.
But I did like when she's trying to stop him from going, she suggests that they run away to Canada and she paints it as this idyllic place, which is, you know, obviously a joke because this show was made in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the cast are Canadian comedians.
It's safe up there, and it's clean. They say you can't find a gum wrapper on the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tries to make some kind of analogy. I forgot to write down what it was.
He was trying to say something about how life doesn't go as you plan it.
That's just the way life is. It doesn't just go from A to B. Sometimes it goes from A to D or to F before it ever comes back to B.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Yeah, nobody understands the analogy he was making, including himself.
Yes.
So this scene is probably... I want to say this is probably the funniest scene in the episode. Which isn't saying much. I'm not saying it's like laugh out loud funny or anything. But this is the scene that has the most things in it that I recognize as jokes. But plot-wise, it just kind of feels like wasted time.
That's exactly what it is, because it tries to set up, like, Idella changes her mind about killing the fly, and she forgives Harry and blah, blah, blah. But immediately after the fantasy ends, she says,
"So much for cheap sentimentality,"
and throws the picture aside and goes back to hunting the fly.
Yeah. But even then, like, it's clearly supposed to show us why they're together, but it doesn't show us why they're together because this doesn't feel like them. The two people in this flashback, because they're such outlandish parodies. Yeah, they're like caricatures of World War II movie characters, not of Harry and Idella.
Yeah, I literally thought the whole thing was a fantasy.
Yeah, I think it's like 50%, like, you know, a little from column A, a little from column B. I think it's accurate that he went to Vietnam, because there's the photo of him. But I think this is her, like, romanticized version of what happened. He's definitely not acting like Harry in this scene.
Mm-mm.
He's definitely not acting like someone from the 70s that Vietnam happened.
Sure.
He's acting like someone from the 1930s in this scene. Specifically someone from a movie in the 1930s.
Right.
So, yeah, she goes back to hunting the fly. We get another ad break. This one felt really quick after the last one.
It sure did.
But maybe that's just because so little happened in between them. But
I think it felt really out of place for some reason.
yeah, it's sudden, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the middle of the action. We come back from the commercials, and Idella is about to kill the fly, but Casey, who has appeared, somehow stops her. But the fly dies anyway.
Yeah, she runs into a window.
Yeah. And then Harry gives us the fly's sob story.
Parents deserted her when she was only a maggot. Told me what it was like. Not a pretty picture. Living alone, down in Chinatown. Flying from garbage can to garbage can. She got hooked on MSG. That's no life for a young fly.
Right. And, like, that's supposed to excuse everything that happened because the fly had a sad life. Like you were saying about how the fantasy is supposed to tell us why Harry and Adela are together. Harry also basically just hints at them having history, but we don't ever really feel that they have any kind of connection.
No, they're very different people.
Yeah.
And in the end, the only reason that Harry offers up... Because Idella tells him that she was jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks her down by saying that he could never have what they have with a fly. Because they've been together for 20 years and flies only live for about 2 weeks.
It's like, yeah, but you could still cheat with her.
Well, not only that, but like... The only reasoning that he offers up for why they'd be together forever is that they've been together this long.
Yes. Yes, I know.
So there's nothing he can think of keeping them together other than the fact that they've already been together for 20 years.
Well, it's too late for either of us to get divorced. Can you imagine going into the dating pool at our age? We're stuck.
But maybe that's the joke. I don't know. It's very hard to tell in this show.
Yeah.
Although we do get one thing that was a very clear joke to end the show on.
Oh.
Harry asks Fred to take care of the body because she shouldn't be left there on a bar of soap because that's where she died. Everybody goes up to bed and Fred stays behind to take care of it. There's a long build up to it, and then he just flicks the fly out the window.
Yep.
Which I saw coming.
Of course, from a mile away.
Yeah, especially with all the build up to it.
Yeah, I thought he was going to flush her down the toilet or something.
I actually thought that he was going to just like brush her into the trash can, something like that. But you know, sometimes knowing a joke is coming makes it funnier.
Not in this case.
Yeah. I don't think we could say that in this case, but the end.
The end. That was 22 minutes and not a thing happened.
It really, yeah. So we've looked at some shows where at the end, I'm shocked that it was only 20 minutes because so many things happened.
Mhm.
Like some of the shows we've looked at, so many things happen.
Pac-Man, the first episode was exhausting to get through.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm, so much happened in those 20 minutes. I can't believe this one was 20 minutes for the opposite reason.
Right, this is a very Hametsu no Mars episode.
Like, I can't believe that they stretched this out to 20 minutes, even more so than Hametsu no Mars.
It's because they had so many long fantasy intervals.
They really did. It's extremely slow moving. It doesn't even have a B plot.
No.
Like, what's the B plot? Ike has to take his hat off at breakfast?
The B plot is just that Fred is still failing to come up with a cure.
Even that's just 2 scenes.
I know.
Each one like 10 seconds each, probably.
And it's still not even the focus of the scenes he's in.
They still talk about Harry in both of those scenes. Yeah, the kids are only in one scene. That's 3 characters of the main cast who are only in one scene.
And they don't offer us anything even when they are on camera.
No, I want to know anything about Tina. Because we've watched 2 episodes now, and I don't know who she is.
No, me neither.
I don't know what her personality's about. The only thing I know about Ike is that he wears a leather jacket.
The only thing I know about Tina is that she looks like she works for a movie theater.
Yeah, she kind of does. She looks like she's refusing to give me extra breadsticks right now.
Sir, I've already refilled the breadsticks 3 times. We have other customers.
She looks like the kind of girl that you see at Olive Garden with her family, and she clearly doesn't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to be with her boyfriend, but she can't let her family know she has a boyfriend. She's not supposed to be dating until she's 15. I don't know how old she is.
I'm pretty sure she's older than that.
I think she's probably like 17, yeah.
But she's still not old enough to drink coffee.
That's true.
Is that still the thing?
That's the one thing we know about her, is that she wants to drink coffee and her mom won't let her.
All cool teens want to drink coffee, and their lame moms won't let them.
Yeah, when you said, is that still a thing, do you mean like coffee being an adult drink?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I've wondered that myself.
Because, like, Starbucks is so normalized, and so many of their drinks are, like, barely coffee, but kids still drink them.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a long time since I've heard of an adult, like, forbidding a child to drink coffee. I feel like a lot of children don't drink coffee just because their taste buds aren't ready for the bitterness of it yet. But
Right. It's never, you're not old enough to drink this drink.
yeah, I definitely heard that when I was a kid. But it's been a long time since I've heard anyone express that sentiment.
Yeah. I don't really know a lot of people with kids.
Yeah, same. It was prevalent enough when I was a kid that there's one scene in Meet the Robinsons, the Disney movie, where a little child drinks some coffee. And the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, is that okay to show?
What is this rated?
But, like, yeah, obviously it's not, they're not going to show a child drinking alcohol unless it's Pinocchio. But, coffee just doesn't have that stigma. And I feel like at one point it did. And it will have been about the point this show was airing, actually, because I know I was small, tiny child when I guess I was 4 years old when this show was airing. But when I was a child, I remember being told, like, no, coffee's a grown-up's drink. You can't have that.
I don't remember if I was ever told that I couldn't have it, but that I wouldn't like it. Because I convinced my grandma a couple of times to let me have a cup of coffee, and no matter how much milk and sugar I put in, I couldn't like it.
Well, that's me now, to this day.
now I drink it black because
Oh, I
it's
know.
the only thing that stops the headaches from not drinking coffee. It's become a bit of a Mobius mug.
Yeah, that's how it gets you.
Yeah.
I just found out like 2 days ago that the Starbucks mermaid has 2 tails.
I feel like I knew that, but that could be a false memory that I just put in there.
Yeah, I looked up the old logo when she was straight out of a 1600s.
Here there be mermaids.
Yeah. Before they redesigned her for the edgy 90s. Yeah, she's just a mermaid with 2 tails. And I just started imagining her walking around on them like they were legs. Yeah.
I love it. I want to see someone put pants on that.
Please, anyone listening.
Put some hammer pants on her.
That's the fan art we want. Meatball Ape. This is another character we've created. Starbucks mermaid with pants on. I feel like if you went through, like, probably once an episode, we'd create a character.
Yeah, we have to have a rich bestiary.
It doesn't always make it into the episode. Sometimes it's a Patreon bonus, but it's always there.
We're always saying something stupid out of our mouth holes.
We've got a rich lore. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
And we're sorry.
And we're sorry. This episode probably wasn't very eventful. We'll try to cover something more interesting next time, I guess.
No promises.
No promises. So don't complain.
Don't complain if immediately after filming this we forgot that we said we wanted a more interesting episode and pick something like Hametsu no Mars again.
Hey, really, it's on the creators of the shows. Like, I didn't know this was going to be like this.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
It's really just roll of the dice over here.
Some of these more obscure ones. You're either in for a wild time or a wildly boring one.
It's going to be a wild time or a mild time. With no in between. You can find us at patreon.com/Super Breakfast Friends Club if and you want to see those Patreon bonuses, what I mentioned. It costs a little bit of money, but you're good for it, right? I'm sorry. You can find us at coffee.com/Super Breakfast Friends Club too, if you want. But
I think you're onto something. I think we need to neg the audience.
No, I think we need to clarify that just listening to our show is more than enough. And if you don't have the money, but you want to help support us anyway, you could just tell some people about the show. Just be like, hey, I listened to this show, and it's really good, or really bad. Whatever you think would get people to listen. I know hate watching is a big business.
It is. I've done some of that in my day.
Hey, you watched Morbius.
I did watch Morbius. Oh, I completely forgot. It's like I blacked out for 2 hours.
You might as well have.
It probably would have been a better use of my time. That's not true. Now I can make fun of it with an informed opinion.
But you haven't been. You've just been saying Morbin.
It's Morbin time.
That's all you've been doing. That's not even in the movie.
That's not true. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I've been talking about Matt Smith's bat poison whenever we fight Malzeno.
Oh, that's true. I just didn't know what you were on about.
Yeah, see, you don't even get my references because they're so cutting edge with the Morbius lore.
I
The
guess you-
Lorbius.
I hate it.
You love it.
There's another new character, the Lorbius. He's the one who keeps track of all the characters we make up.
And says it's Lorbin time.
Bye.
Our episode of Maniac Mansion ended with us talking about Morbius.
At least it ended.